And what's up, people? Back with another episode of the Darkened Hour. Here we're going to discuss things about comic books and movies. Today's episode is rather special because we're going to be focusing more on the Game of Thrones, something that we've never done in the Darkened Hour before. So with this special episode, it's kind of a special guest. Here we have Marvin from Villainy Games, Gnarly Marv.
Oh, villain, my villain. And my mic sounds like it's that low. All right, there you go.
There you go.
Oh, villain, my villain. Hurrah! Burn!
Bend the knee.
Bend the knee.
Bend in the knee, we got Migs Drogo over here.
What's
also,
going on, people?
And then we got Lord Jamar in the corner.
What's going on? What's going on, guys?
So we've been brushing up a lot on Game of Thrones for years. We've been pretty solid fans, and we've all been kind of coming up with our own theories of what the origin of the White Walkers may be and pretty much how the show may end and like little key points and elements of the show as a whole. So I guess you can call us like a batch of Game of Thrones gurus right here when it comes to the theory.
Yeah,
so we're probably just going to go straight into it. So I myself, since I didn't tell any of you guys exactly what my theory is,
Right.
I'm just going to drop the bomb on you right now.
Okay,
So,
there we go.
or an outline. I want to hear everybody's thoughts, and then I'll kind of come to the conclusion after that. So
All right.
my theory with the Game of Thrones is basically the origin of the Night Walkers being made by the Children of the Forest because they were at war with the First Men, with the Night Walkers being with the White Walkers being too strong for them to control. The Children of the Forest had to unite with the First Men, thus began the first, what did they call the first night or whatever they call it, like the first Dark Knight or whatever.
Night,
So when they banded together to defeat the White Walkers, as we saw Jon Snow's drawings in a cage, you know, it
Was
pushed
it
him.
his drawing?
I'm pretty sure he drew that like 10 minutes before he pulled
Very
Daenerys down.
convincing.
Not canonical. It's not canon, but come on, guys.
Yeah.
He had chalk in his
He had
pocket.
chalk in his pockets, you know. He was that Arthur with the colored pencils
Yes,
when your aunt
yes.
doesn't believe in White Walkers. So,
Oh, look, he can fingerprint.
so ultimately, my theory with the White Walkers on how, and also how Game of Thrones would end is that, and I'll explain how I get to that point, is how Daenerys will be a Night's Queen. And how we need an official Stark as King of the North.
Yeah.
But we need someone of combination of ice and fire to keep the peace at the wall. So that's pretty much the basis of my theory. So I know you guys have been doing a little bit digging and doing a little brainstorming on your own.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you guys where you stand first before I do my whole rant on where I stand. You guys can also chime in while I'm talking. So who wants to spit what research they've been doing before I go in?
I think Lord Jamar has something important to say. I see it on his face.
Do what you gotta do.
My whole thing was like, as far as like we've been looking at everything in Game of Thrones from the wrong perspective. You know, we look at the White Walkers as like the big baddie, you know, but like honestly, they're just like a product of their circumstance. You know, they were created essentially. They are slaves. You know, they just want retribution at that point. So I'm looking at it as the First Men were essentially like the baddies, and their children inherited that burden.
Right.
So the Night Walkers are coming for whoever is living. So we look at it like the end game is, you got to view it as the White Walkers aren't like a one-dimensional baddie. They're not just evil looking to convert whatever comes in their path. They're like, they have a mission. That one flashback, I believe it was in season 6, where the Children of the Forest pushed that piece of dragon glass within that guy. It's like, at first you thought, that was the beginning of the White Walker, but there's 3 different breeds, and which I'm about to explain. You have the Night King himself, who I believe was already there. I don't know how he was created, but he was his own entity outside of everything else. The Children of the Forest made the White Walker, which is, the dragon glass combined with the Children of the Forest magic. Right. And then you just have plain whites, which are the zombies. Which the Night King, when he reses you,
can trade you to become a white.
You become a white.
Yep.
So, you look at it as there's several third parties going on. You have the ice being like Winterfell, Jon Snow. Then you have the fire of Daenerys. But I want to go back a little further to the actual Night's King, who had his reign for 13 years. His queen was the Night's Queen. So when you said Daenerys becoming the next Night's Queen, I thought of Jon Snow being the next Night King.
All right. So now that you mentioned the origin, this is where I come from because that's part of my theory. Because it relates to like where I believe the origin of the White Walkers come. Because we don't know much past Thins, and Thin is I guess the way Westeros is set, because it's a giant continent, but they don't have exactly countries. They just kind of have like regions. So if I would call a region, the Thins have a region. And if you remember the Thins, they're all the guys with all the shaved heads who are cannibals from the beyond the wall. Thins are the last nation before the pretty much the frozen throne, if you will, like some Lich King life, where the actual Night's King lives. Because we know they have an actual home base. And the only time we saw that, I believe, was in like season 2 or 3. It was very early in the show where the guy who lived beyond the wall, Craster, was sacrificing all his sons to the White Walkers. They would take a son, and that's where they would bring them. They would bring them all the way to the north, as far as north can go, to the Night's King, so the Night's King can convert them. I always felt that that was the actual throne for the Night's King and Night's Queen to be. Now, as it goes to the actual first war, like you said, where we saw the mid stage, I guess the mid-tier version of the Night's Walker were created by the Children of the Forest. They run pretty much the same. They're on the same line as Craster's sons, whereas the Night's King himself is a higher being, obviously. One of the first Night's Kings was actually the leader of the Night's Watch, who was a Stark.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Ironically, it was their like great grandfather Brandon Stark or something like that, and he married a White Walker who was female, and he was the first Night's King. Now, because of this marriage, is how they were able to make peace with the White Walkers, because after the war between the White Walkers and the first men with the Children of the Forest, the White Walkers were pushed back far north, but it's not really explained very much in either the show nor the books, where there was like a peace treaty where the wall was their border. It's like this border will separate us to kind of live in peace. And the way this wall was built was speculated that it was built with the help of as we see them now, as wildlings and giants and such. But this wall would take thousands of years to make if it was just man making this. And we know one thing, that the Night's King himself, the true Night's King, has the power over ice and cold. So it's also believed that he was the one who helped build that wall, because it stretches over that entire like continent across from one edge to the shore to the other edge, where we are going to see tonight is Eastwatch.
Like 300 miles,
it's
700 feet high.
It's 700 feet high, and like miles, I forget the exact miles, but yeah, that's as far as that stretches. So everything you're saying is exactly amongst my theory where it comes to like, because ultimately, I see it as, because how it's supposed to be is we have 3 different elements. We have a Stark, who's supposed to be a warg, because in the books, every Stark is a warg. But in the show, there's a lot less magic than there is in a book, so every Stark isn't necessarily a full warg, but they have warg tendencies. Hence, when Robb was leading his army south, and they were having their war council, one of the men spoke up against Robb. It was Karstark's father. The Karstark, was he a Karstark? I think what he was, but one of them spoke up, and Greywind jumped on the table and attacked and bit his hand off for being disrespectful. Robb didn't do or say anything. Robb just stood there and looked, and then the wolf just went. And there was no reaction, and the wolf just walked back calmly and chilled, and then Robb finished speaking. So that was hints that the Starks have some true connection to their wolves. Or when we go back to Arya, when she found Nymeria. So she wasn't able to warg the other wolves, but her wolf is that special bond. And all she has to do is look in the eyes, and Nymeria, this giant, dominant, proud dire wolf, looked at this little girl in the farm and was like, oh.
Yeah.
He just walked away. All the little pup wolves stood around in circles, because wolves don't need to surround you in circles. Like, why would they? That was more of a challenge, as if they were entering a skirmish, where like they were a cockfight, like they were the audience, and Nymeria was gonna have to fight against.
That was lunchtime.
Legit. You feel me? It's like it was a weird way of setting up. So it kind of hints more of the warg powers of the Starks. But since we know most of the Stark children aren't true wargs, we are forced to look at Brandon Stark, who's an actual warg.
Unfortunately.
The crazy 3-eyed raven. Hold the door. Yeah. So
push my cart.
We have him as the warg, and then we have him representing ice. You know, King of the North is supposed to marry the king or queen beyond the North. And that's with the White. So our only Stark to become part of White Walkers isn't possible to be wedded with the White Walker, because he is the three-eyed raven now. His destiny is already locked in.
Yep.
So then we look at something else to unite ice and fire would be Daenerys. Now the reason I'm excluding Jon Snow because he's already that combination to bring peace. Well, we need someone at Castle Black to actually be the throne for the North. And then Winterfell is that in between, and then we have the South Throne, which is King's Landing. Now, King's Landing is neither here nor there because we know the real threat is the White Walkers. Now, like you mentioned, they're not the big baddies that we see them as because we know one thing about George R.R. Martin. He's never as Lord of the Rings black and white boring. It is. I can't even call it a gray area because we see black, we see white, we see grays, we see purples, greens, and oranges,
shades in between,
and even shades that even colorblind people see. You know, like it's everything that we can ever see. And I fear that this story is going to have a bittersweet ending, whereas Daenerys is going to die as the human she is, immune to fire, but not immune to ice and cold. And she's going to become an official Night's Queen. Whereas Jon will have to actually be King of the North, like officially King of the North, where he's the only link that saves the denizens of the First Men who are past the Twins, World of Frey, past the Vale and Southern to protect them from should Daenerys go Mad Queen.
So who sits on the throne then? Who sits in
the Iron Throne?
Yeah.
In that aspect, it doesn't really matter because when winter comes, it's followed by the White Walkers. So whoever sits on the throne really doesn't matter at this point. But how I see it, if it was to truly end in that aspect, and like we finally get Cersei out of the box and we stop caring about Baratheons because nobody knows where Godry is, I see Tyrion might actually be king. Yeah. And Varys would serve as his hand of the king.
No, I can't see that at all.
I find it ironic because that was it was the exact opposite of what Varys and Tyrion agreed. They both disagreed with.
Yeah. Right.
And I find that being the funny, like, because one thing when it comes to Game of Thrones, nothing's just there. Everything they say and do tends to have some kind of message. Hence, let's go leading what you would know about Migs, because you can take a hand of this, is the cat's paw dagger. So I'll let you take into that.
So from the notes I've been jotting down for like the past couple hours or whatever, there's a bunch of swords that are Valyrian steel, aka dragonglass. Cat paw. My theory for it, since nobody knows where the light bringer is, I think it's like that sword itself, that little dagger that Arya has.
I think you should explain the Lightbringer a little bit more because Lightbringer is literally the origin story of the first Night's Queen.
Okay, so the Lightbringer is basically one really good sword that's basically can stop the Nightsman. The Night King, I mean. And then after that, they're supposed to be like a legendary hero or whatnot that's supposed to bring it down, the Night King and stuff. But there's other swords that split apart that can stop White Walkers and all that. There's the cat paw. There is let me see.
You have your notes. Just
I know.
Is that the sword that he used on the
No, it's
during that battle?
It's actually the dagger. It's actually the dagger that Arya Stark has right now. That's supposed to kill her brother.
So what was the sword that Jon Snow was using during that actual battle?
It just so happens to be a Valyrian steel.
Oh, there's nothing special about that sword.
There's nothing epic about it. It's just a Valyrian steel.
So there's Longclaw, which is Jon Snow's sword. Heartsbane, which Sam Tully has with him, which he stole from his father. There was Ice, which was Ned Stark's giant claymore, but it got melted down to
Oathkeeper and Widow's Wail.
And then there's another one that really no one really explained about. The Targaryens had it, and it's called Blackfire. And with that, it's Aegon Targaryen had was the first one to have it, basically king and everything. He passed it down to Aegon IV, which is, we all know, Mad King. And then all the hints down, it goes down the line. Aegon IV had a bastard child, and his name is Daemon Blackfire.
Because there are bastards on the Targaryen called Blackfire.
So instead of him just saying, instead of just him calling himself Daemon Blackfire, Daemon Targaryen or Snow, he just took the name after his sword so he could put it as house of his name. Also, it just goes down. And Three-Eyed Raven is a really, really good character because he's the one that kills him, who kills Daemon and ends the war that they had going with him. And he is also the Three-Eyed Raven that trained Bram how to be the new.
Yeah, of course, they need Three-Eyed Raven.
And then there's a lot more down this list that I have here.
Well, just to talk about the cat's paw because that's the most relevant right now.
So, like cat's paw is it's one of those daggers that you thought it didn't have much meaning and stuff to it, but we all saw from last episode where Sam was going through the crypts and everything, and it appears to a book. We don't know what that means. The only thing I can say is that I think the Lightbringer is melted down to that dagger. That's my theory of it. And who has it now?
Aya.
So to me, I think Aya may be the key to everything that goes down.
Now, my theory on the cat's paw, that's why I wanted you to talk about it. So, since we did see it in the book, we know it's a legendary weapon. It's far beyond anyone's years who's in the current state. It's far beyond the Mad King in that.
Exactly.
That's why it can trace back to the first Night's Queen, where it was probably brought from the Lightbringer. Because how we saw in the show, how as they proclaimed it as the first Night Walker was created with a dragon glass, that's how the first Night's Queen was made through Lightbringer. So it's believed that it sort of could have been smelted down to this dagger. We know for a fact that not only is it made with dragon fire, it's made with dragon glass. So it's the ultimate White Walker killer and probably the only weapon that can actually officially kill the Night's King.
Right.
So it's irony in the story because no one knows who's the true owner of this dagger. Now, when we first see it appear, it's owned by the assassin to kill Brandon Stark.
Yeah.
When it shows up again, it's showed somehow Peter Baelish has it to give it to Brandon Stark, and he says this this dagger caused a war, and Brandon agrees with that, but he's not agreeing it as Brandon Stark. He's agreeing with it as a three-eyed raven, as in it's transcended through their generations, not because this was supposed to kill me and started a war. This was to kill this was what created the Night's Queen and so on and so forth. So we know where it came from with the dagger, but it was speculated that it was Tyrion's dagger.
Right. Yeah, that's what I heard that he lost a bet.
But Littlefinger had it with him.
Well, after the assassination, he has his links, but it originally came from Tyrion. Now, there's the theory, it hasn't been proven yet. The theory is that this dagger came from Robert Baratheon because it was his treasure piece after killing Rhaegar.
The Mad King.
I mean, not Rhaegar. Was it Rhaegar? No, Rhaegar.
Not Rhaegar.
It's Rhaegar. Because Rhaegar is was the prince of the Mad King. Or
it was
the
also
son.
Jon Snow.
Now, one thing we know about Rhaegar, he was a huge believer. This is why Ballister, the Kingsguard who quit and started helping Daenerys. He honored Rhaegar because Rhaegar was actually a big believer in the prophecies and all the mythos and religions that were going around in the country. So his entire marriage to Lyanna Stark had to be hidden because he knew by the customs of humans or the descendants of the first men, it wouldn't be accepted because of all their strange rules.
Right.
So since he understood the promised prince would be his son, because it was the actual combination of ice and fire, he thought that this son would be the hero of the land, hence Jon Snow. And the reason he did this is because there was a pact to be made with the Targaryens and the Starks, where the Starks were supposed to be that. It was supposed to be a Stark man to wed a Targaryen female so that their child would take on the Stark name but still be the combination of ice and fire, whereas he did it on the flip side, where the Targaryen was a male and the Stark was a female. So that's where it kind of puts Jon Snow in that awkward position. But this was Rhaegar's last defense. Now, because of the rebellion, because of this hidden marriage where they assumed that he raped Lyanna Stark, the whole Targaryens are pushed out of the box. So his whole plans for the future to save the world that he was preemptively preparing for was kind of shunned to the side, and that's why we have this ladder of chaos, if you will.
Nicely put.
Littlefinger.
So the dagger now is in Arya's hand. So it is still in the hands of a Stark. Now, the odd part about it is that this is a Stark who is adept to magic. And where I see where this dagger's journey is going to take place is it's probably one of the only weapons we know that can kill the Night's King.
Right.
And there was that one weird look in Brandon Stark's eyes when he gave it to Arya, as if, as soon as he let it go, he had to, I want to give this to you, but I kind of felt I should have hold on to that. Not because of the value of the daggers, because I just saw the future and I know where this dagger is going to take you.
Yeah, that's the thing with the three-eyed raven visions. You don't know what's going to happen next.
Because he's no longer Brandon Stark.
Exactly.
Yeah. He's definitely not that person anymore.
So I'm at the point where my favorite character might go through some legit heavy shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Which is Arya, right?
Which is Arya.
Yeah.
And I feel that one of two things: either she's going to stop being no one again, because we see her lose her no one side, where she gets personal, and she's going to go in over her head.
Yeah.
But I also see it as where she herself might try to go after the Night's King and die at his hands, because she has that ultimate weapon and she's all for fighting. Yep. You know, she's one of the best fighters in the story, because she's, as we were to believe, the Mountain Clegane and Sandor Clegane are the strongest. You know, the Hound and the Mountain.
Yeah.
They're the best fighters that we know. And Jamie, but he's left-handed now, so he's not as good anymore. But they're pretty much the best fighters. We saw Brienne beat the Hound. You know, we know the Hound can be. I mean, when the Mountain can be beaten, because we saw the Red Viper beat him. If he wasn't taunting, he would have killed the Mountain.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's been proven that by rules of Game of Thrones, your stature and size and raw power is clearly not enough against somebody who's more tactical and fast and hits those vital points, which we saw in Red Viper and which we now see in Arya, the young wolf, the daughter of Winter.
Oh yeah.
So the way she beat Brienne, it shows that she's actually going to play a good part in this super team against the White Walkers. Because look at our massive battle heads we got. We got the Hound, Brienne, Arya, Jon Snow, Daenerys. Her dragon's named after her two brothers and one named after her first love. You know, we had the super team to fight the White Walkers. But this is George R.R. Martin.
Of course.
You can't.
I see that when the winter finally falls and actually reaches to the point where it goes past the twins and actually starts touching King's Landing and touches High Garden.
Right.
These power heads we see are not going to matter.
No, they're not.
Because think about it, we even have the Lords of Light. The Lord of Light knows exactly what happened. It's God that they all pray to. The Brotherhood Without Banners. Hence why we have Barristan. His name's not Barristan. What is his name? I always forget his name. The guy with who dies so many times and comes back to life.
He has that eye patch.
Yeah, the eye patch.
Oh.
He can actually. He always sets his sword.
The guy
ablaze.
from the Brotherhood of Without Banners.
Yeah. I always forget his name.
They follow the Fire Maiden.
Yeah.
I'm so mad because I always remember his name, and now the one time I have to talk about him, I can't remember his name.
I actually like the fact.
But we know he sets his sword ablaze, so he's the perfect fighter against the White Walker, since he feels his entire mission is that.
Right.
Gotcha.
So I feel like I'm just rambling in circles. So basically, the way I see it as, all these top dogs we see are finally gonna
not be top dogs.
They're not gonna be top dogs. They're finally gonna actually get that, like, oh, this is a wall I can't climb. We're gonna see some of these these titans finally drop.
Yeah.
You know, and it's almost as if the story is hinting to that. Hence, we have Sandor Clegane seeing the visions in the flame, and them just walking around the castle at the edge, Eastwatch. He saw them walk past Eastwatch, which means Tormund, the wildling leader, they're most likely probably going to fail at their position that they're holding at this castle. Right. You know, as he made the joke, we're the new Night's Watch. But if they saw in the vision of the flames that the White Walkers will actually make it past Eastwatch, because the castle Eastwatch is a good few miles from the actual walls, like separation from like Winterfell, if you will, or that region past the wall.
Yeah.
So if they're making it past the wall, Eastwatch's defenses are not going to hold up. Is what it's heading at. Now the only problem is tonight's episode is exactly that.
True enough.
Because tonight's episode is named Eastwatch.
Yeah. That's right.
My theory with when the White Walkers come in and everything, I really think that they're gonna take over Castle Black, or like the Watchtower and stuff like that.
I don't see them taking over anything, because the way the Night's King behaves. Now I guess this goes back to what Jamar was saying. I don't see them as retribution now.
Yeah.
Me playing Warcraft and with the White Walkers reminding me so much of the Scourge. I don't see it as retribution. Yes, some of it is retribution because they were made to be tools of war.
Right.
But the Night's King had always been his own entity. So what he has been doing, especially why he took in all of Craster's orphan sons, if you will, is that he is treating it as salvation for his people. Right. He is trying to be his own, although it's very crude and kind of like not inhumane, because obviously it's inhumane, but it's very morbid, his method of bringing peace to this country. Because as we know about the first, the first night, or what is it called? Not the first one. It has a specific name, but when the White Walkers first actually like walked across the land, it seemed as if they were just, behemoths. They just wanted to ravage everything, and that's what they're constantly portrayed as. But as we saw the Night King in action, anytime he steps into play, it's never about destruction. He has a goal. And as we see his sons, as we'll call them, because he obviously adopted Craster's sons, of course, look at when Samwell was lost in the north with Snow.
Oh, my God, caught, man.
Sam was hiding behind a little rock,
Mm-hmm.
And a White Walker, a full White Walker, not a white, an actual White Walker, full, like, you know, because they're actually living creatures at this point.
Yeah.
You know, all white skin, white hair, blue glowing eyes. He's not a white, just an actual White Walker on his zombie horse. And he looks down at Sam.
Mm-hmm.
He's on his horse and he looks down at him. And then he holds his ice spear up and crackles, because that's how they speak. Their voices are the sound of cracking ice.
Yep.
He does his cracking ice scream, and all the whites just rally along with him. None of them attack Sam. Some of them see Sam and don't care. Yeah. They're not about just killing the living. They have an actual goal. Yeah. So we almost have to treat them as another house trying to conquer the land. What the end game of the Night King is, I'm not sure. For all I know, he's probably salty against the children of the forest, because for what we know, even beyond the wall, I guess we could treat it like Alaska, where they've actually had greenery, hence the tree that the three-eyed raven lived in. Yeah. So it's not like that area's entirely frozen. It actually does get its summer times, if you will. But I guess with the bargain of I guess I'll go back to that now, because I didn't finish that.
Well, I have a question about the Valerian steel dagger.
Right.
And I always thought in my head what would be more poetic for it. Not that the White Walkers aren't a problem that needs to be dealt with, but without going too much into the mythology of all of Game of Thrones.
Right.
What's the most reasonable explanation of who was trying to kill Bran in the beginning of the show was always that Cersei was, because he was the one that caught Cersei and her brother together, Cersei and Jaime together. Yeah. So for me, what the reason he handed her the Valerian steel is because Cersei's on Arya's kill list. Yeah. And I always thought this would be the exact situation, the most Shakespearean justice that can be handed to Cersei, you know what I mean, to be put down by the daughter.
Dagger, yeah.
Exactly. She tried to kill Bran with. Bran.
Yeah, I thought, like, for me, I think, like, Sansa, when Sansa finally finds out what Littlefinger's been doing behind her back and found out her thing, I thought at least she would be the one to stab him with that same dagger.
That would be,
because that's poetic justice right there. But then again,
the fact that the Littlefinger's still alive after all the crap he's pulled.
But his time is running up short, so.
You think this is his last season?
It's definitely going to be.
What do you think?
I think it's going to be his last season here.
Yeah. Jamar, what do you think about Littlefinger?
I don't know. He's crafty. I don't know. I think he may live.
He might outlive That's what I was going to say. He might outlive everyone.
As annoying as he is, I see him living. Mm-hmm. Because he is as douchey as he is, he did give Sansa some valid advice. Treat everyone as your friend and everyone as your enemy.
Yeah, fight the battles in every direction.
Yeah, and that's what it's coming down to, where they have to think it that way, because they have to fight for survival whilst also preparing for a war where they're all forced to unite and be allies.
Now,
because winter is still a thing. Yeah, so they have to prepare crops and stuff like that, and when it comes to geography and where the lands work, they have to take from other people at this point. Mm-hmm. So the wars against nations right now, or countries, if you will, is still a factor. But at the same time, these fighting countries also have to wage or defend themselves against the coming winters of the Night King.
Of course.
Right.
So with that advice in Sansa's head is almost like a redeeming factor, and him giving the dagger to Bran is somewhat of a redeeming factor. And even though he's spitting lies, it's almost to the point where his lies are forcing the truth out. Where it's like, I was lying when I said this, but now the way reality is warping around me, this is now the truth. I have to abide by those words, and it's not by my own choosing. It's because this is what life has given me. Hence, like with Melisandre has said to Varys, where Varys assumed she was just going to go back to her homeland so she can live and die in peace. And she specified that we're going to die in this country, this strange country that we came to, because we're trying to bring peace to the world. She's well aware that their lives are to die by helping this realm. Yeah, they are insignificant creatures alone, but the people who they whisper in their ears are the ultimate saviors. And that's where the role they're playing, which is why, although Peter Baelish would love to be the king of the throne if he can stand on the ashes.
That'd be great.
But he's still part of those glory whisperers.
Yep.
Yeah.
As much as he's helped the antagonists or the bad guys as we would see them,
at this point,
he's still whispering enough to put certain things in motion. Because, I mean, hell, look at Jamie. It's how the show goes. Everything's black and white. There's no black and white. Everything's kind of random. So look at Jamie, how we saw him in season 1. Like, everybody hated Jamie. Most people hated Jamie because he pushed Brand out of the window. But think about
the calmly, kind of pompous, too. Very calmly,
the kind of pompous jackass that he was. And I go back and I watch those seasons and I look at Jamie as he was always an anti-hero kind of character.
Yeah.
Especially what he says to Jon Snow. Because he likes Jon Snow. Even to this day, he knows a Jon.
Yeah, he has no
problem against.
He didn't like Jon Snow going to join the.
He didn't like exactly
Right.
the Night's Watch
because when he first meets Jon, we see Jon beating at the scarecrow like dummy or whatever to practice, the training dummy. And he makes a joke. He's like, "Oh, yeah, you join the Night's Watch. Oh, you're gonna give all those vows and give your lives to the Night's Watch and protect us from the White Walkers." Ooh, and John's looking like, "Okay, you're the Queen's brother. You're being an asshole. Okay, I get this." But then he's like, "You know, I mean, so when you take those vows, I mean, cool. I'm glad that you're getting all those skills are going to protect us." Yeah, he's saying there's going to waste is essentially what he's saying.
Right.
He's like, "But don't worry about it. It's only for the rest of your life." And the reason why Jaime's saying that because Jaime made the same mistake when he was young. He was the greatest warrior in the land.
Yep.
Especially because I'm from the where were they from? They're from the west, the west of Westeros.
The west of Westeros.
And
yeah,
Jaime is this glorified warrior, one of the best warriors in the show, the books as it goes. Like he's amazing. Even left-handed, he's taking down Dothraki like head on, and that says something.
Yeah.
And he becomes a Kingsguard. Not a city guard where they still see action on a regular basis. He's a Kingsguard. That's one of the highest rankings a warrior can be. But if you're so good, you lose your skills by just sitting there doing nothing by being a glorified sentry, as Robert Baratheon
pretty
said.
much. He's a sentry.
So when it comes to so me bringing up Jaime is just kind of like putting Peter Baelish in the same thing. We've hated him since like season 1.
Yep.
But I feel like if you really look at where he's been playing at, he's the guy that plays checkers and sacrifices his own pieces to win, or chess and sacrifices his own pieces to win. Because he's not looking for total domination because at the end of the day, Peter can't do that. He can't reproduce. He's a eunuch. So what's the point of him being with Sansa and creating a house of his own? It's even the joke he made to Joffrey when Joffrey was king. Yeah. And Joffrey was like, "Oh, you can rule Harrenhal and they'll go to your sons and grandsons and so on and so forth." And then after like they give him, he's like, "Oh, your gift is too great, my lord. Now I just have to find a way to acquire some grandsons." It was a joke saying like I can't reproduce, so like you're not giving me anything really.
Jesus Christ.
So that's why I see him as still like a gray, black and whitish kind of character where like he flips on the fly, like whatever suits him. Yes, but like he also still helps the story graduate because he will do the things that people are too afraid to do. You know, he's another Daenerys as we see her as a possible mad queen or a mad king, if you will. She's still a dragon at heart.
Yeah.
You know. So since old Valyria is gone, Targaryens are descendants of old Valyria. There's speculation that them themselves in their actual DNA strands have dragon DNA, like dragon blood. Yeah. As the Starks have strands in their DNA where they're actually like, some kind of amalgamation of children of the forest, because they're hence Stark specifically they worship the old religions of the children of the forest, since they had the tree in their backyard.
Yep.
That's right. Yeah.
So they too are bound with nature and thus have blood of wolves. So when the uniting the ice and fire is literally the warriors of the north and the fire dragons of Essos, because old Valyria is from Essos. That's why it's ironic that the Targaryens came over to Westeros, because they're actually native to Essos, which is hilarious now.
Which makes sense to me, because I've always saw them as a different like breed of people than the rest of Westeros.
Oh, they definitely are, because in the books they have silver hair and purple eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't do all that in the show, but Daenerys is supposed to have purple eyes. But one thing I did forget to finish, because we started talking about the cat's paw, is the actual marriaging of, or the unspoken peace treaty of the White Walkers with the First Men. So the First Men built the wall and created the Night's Watch just in case the White Walkers decided to rebel. The way to keep them from rebelling is that they would help the White Walkers as a species or as a race procreate.
Right.
And we know the actual Lord of the Night's Watch, the original leader of the Night's Watch, was a Stark. And what he did with his Night's Queen is that he needed human sacrifices to add to the White Walkers' ranks. They weren't whites, they were legitimate White Walkers. They stopped doing that because it's human sacrifice. The actual Winterfell Starks rebelled against him, and that's when they made the Night's Watch what they are today, where they're literally just the guards to prevent White Walkers from ever touching their sacred lands, if you will. So with that whole marriage and human sacrifice offering out of the page, we now have what you're saying, the Night's King is kind of out for retribution, because it's like you had a promise to me, you're not delivering. I'm going to force my way past the wall that has magical enchantments that I'm bound by, but now that I touched the three-eyed raven, I broke that chain or whatever. I'm coming down to claim what's mine.
I think he's going to take over.
So you think do you think it's possible that we can get an episode from the point of view of the White Walkers this season?
I wish we could, but the fact that they don't speak is the biggest killer.
Yeah.
But we know that the Night's King is far too in tuned with Westeros as a whole, because he, in his own way, I don't think he's the original Night's King, which is the original Night's Watch leader. I don't think that's who he. I don't think he's one of the same.
I think that's also a mantle that gets passed down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I feel in some aspect he is in some way a warg, a three-eyed raven. Like he's some kind of fusion of all three things we've been talking about.
And
He's
Stark.
somehow
Stark.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like Stark would be reference to the first man, somehow still a connection to the Children of Forest and a White Walker in its own self. Because when we saw Brand, he was warging an entire flock of ravens, and Night's King's minding his business sitting on his horse, and as soon as Brand takes over one of the eyes of the raven, the Night's King looks up at that raven specifically.
Yeah.
He's well aware of what Brand is doing.
And he can see through
He can see through Brand's vision.
Yeah, exactly. He can see Bran while he's walking around in the past.
And with that being said, it's as if the Night's King himself has that future sight that Brand has.
Yeah.
And someone as old and wise as he is, I see him. That's why I brought up Peter Baelish. I see him not as black and white as we think is. Oh, he's this ultimate baddie. He's forcing people's hands. It's like I said, he's bringing that justice that the country needs. It's like, okay, you guys are savages compared to your ancestors.
Yeah.
You know, you guys were savages at first, but you found peace where the first men would run the mountains, the shores, and the open lands, whereas the children of the forest legitimately had the forests.
Yeah.
And you guys couldn't keep that peace treaty. So when we were brought into the war, pretty much summoned by the children of the forest, they tried to use us as weapons. We rebelled against that. So then that's when they sided with the first men to go to war with us. And now you pushed us up north. And now you're still savages after killing off the children of the forest. You guys don't learn your lesson, so I'm going to have to reteach you. I see the future. I know how this is going to end. But the only way you're going to get to that end is if I push you off that ledge and I push you into that water and make you swim. Only way you're going to learn how to ride that bike is I push you down the hill and make you pedal. You know, and that's why I think the Night's King is. He's going about it a really crude way.
Right.
But he sees the end game, and he knows who he has to force and how he has to do it. Why do you think someone with this much power is always so passive and just calmly just walking by? Think about how slow he moves, and think about what he did to Jon Snow.
He's very patient.
He's extremely patient. And think about when Jon Snow was officially in the northern villages. When they got on the boats to escape, he looked back at the Night's King and all the dead bodies, and the Night's King was like, this is what I can do.
Yeah.
I control ice, and I control cold weather. We're in a land of nothing but ice and snow, and you're escaping on water. You really think I can't get to you?
Exactly.
You really think I can't path of frost, this ice, freeze this water, and just walk across? I can touch one of your swords with my bare hands and completely freeze it. What do you think I'm going to do to water?
Yep.
Exactly.
I'm letting you escape. I want you to get your friends and come back. This is a raid boss now. We're talking Warcraft. I want you to rally people
that was so
and
badass.
Force the land. I want you to force your people to actually stand together. If these people can't stand together out of love, I'm going to force them to stand together out of fear and anger.
Right.
That's what I see the Night's King is.
Okay, so he's necessary then.
He's the necessary evil, and he knows this. Because he's always known where the three-eyed raven lived.
Of course. If he wanted
He always knew where he lived. He never bothered him. When people got near him, he would keep back them off because people are unworthy of the truth.
Yeah.
That's why he allowed Brandon Stark in there. He forced Brandon Stark further deep into the north because when we saw Uncle Benjen meet him up. And how is Uncle Benjen surviving? Half White Walker, half human.
Yeah.
The Night's King know he exists, but the Night's King's fine with that. Why? Because Uncle Benjen's purpose was to find Brandon.
Yep.
Brandon's now a full developed three-eyed raven. All right. Right, Night's King knows this. He knows exactly where Brandon is. He touched him. He's officially like Voldemort. He's marked. He always knows where Brandon is. Yeah. All right, go back to Castle Black. I'll wait.
I'll wait for you.
So I wonder does that disenchant the wall completely against
possibly
the Night King?
I feel
possibly.
I feel like the wall itself is going to be like their big downfall right there. He's like, oh, this is magic.
Well, somehow the wall still keeps him at bay, which is why he's walking around it.
But I feel like since he touched the new three-eyed raven, he's going to be like, you know what? Screw this wall.
I feel him tearing it down and baiting them where they're going to East Watch.
I thought he just goes around it because it's too warm still south of the wall.
No, he can bring the cold.
No, he can.
Okay.
He can bring the cold.
He can
That's
bring
his power.
the longest night, what they call the darkest night. Yeah. Or whatever. He can bring that upon them. It's just that wall. If he somehow got a chance to like bring it down, game over. The war between Cersei and
what's her face doesn't even matter.
And Daenerys, what war is that? When you got Big Boss by over here.
And then even at that time, like I said, he's not this black and white evil. He's not Voldemort. He has a purpose. He's trying to bring justice to this country because that's what he was made to do.
Yep.
That's what they are made to do. Yeah, they seem like monsters, but they were weapons of war to bring peace. At the end of the day, that's what the White Walkers are.
Right.
So he does make it past this wall, and specifically tonight's episode are going to have top tier like characters.
Someone's
dying, true, but at the same time, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think this episode.
Not because these
episode.
are main characters and we care about them. We want them to live, because Game of Thrones has never cared about that. Ned Stark, prime example.
First rule.
It's because we are now getting closer to the reason behind the Night's King himself.
Yeah,
he's forcing their hand.
Of course,
I feel like it's going to be a sacrifice. Somebody's going to have to do it for the greater good.
Hey,
Daenerys. The Night's Queen.
That's where you're starting to make sense to me right now.
Yeah,
that explains. And it's like
he's going south to claim his queen.
I feel like
he doesn't, and it can't be Cersei, even though she sits on the Iron Throne. He needs a true combination of ice and fire.
I feel like he was going to say what I was just thinking. Sansa would be the right choice. Take her because
she's a Stark.
No,
what else? Stark. That goes back to what I was saying.
What else she got going for her?
She'll finally be useful.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
well, she'll be useful, but like me and Jamar were essentially hinting at, the Night's King needs his Night's King. A Night's Queen.
Well,
it's always a Stark.
It's 2017.
It has to be
he can get a king too.
Our king. Yeah.
Or
he can get a king too.
But he needs his Night's Queen, and that most likely will be Sansa. But if not Sansa, it could be Daenerys, because the true uniting of ice and fire.
No, Daenerys makes the most sense.
She makes
but
the most
Sansa
sense.
would make me sleep better at night.
Sansa makes me sleep better at night. Yeah, because freaking Sansa.
Please get her out that courtroom.
But it also makes sense because it has to be a Stark warg.
She's tall enough for him.
She was the very first Stark to lose her warg.
Oh.
Her wolf.
That's true.
Her wolf, met earlier.
She didn't really care about her wolf that much.
She did, but she never got to warg. And
okay.
This is a prime example of how they had their truly were wargs and have bonds with their wolves. And I'll go through each one based on age.
Yeah.
And of course, Rickon being the last. So let's start with the oldest, Robb.
Yeah.
Robb being the oldest. Look how Grey Worm was, the proud leader. You disrespect me as a king, I'm going to make you pay for it. So, as most other Starks who died with he died with his wolf.
With his head sewed on top of it.
His head sewn on top of him. And Grey Worm sensed the danger, which is why he was locked up in a thing. They didn't want this Dark Wolf, but he knew what was going on. Yep. He's a proud king. He sensed everything was going on. So he was knocked off with Robb. Next in line is Jon Snow. Now let's think about what Jon Snow is. He's the bastard of the Starks. He's not with them. The best way to say it. Hence, he got the runt of the litter.
Yeah.
And let's think about what Ghost is.
Yeah.
Ghost is a perfect name for Ghost because that is niggas never around. We don't see Ghost. That's the best thing about Ghost. We don't see Ghost.
Seriously.
Ghost is never around, and that was the irony of it, because all this stuff that was going on in Westeros, below Winterfell, past the Twins, past the Vale, past the Reach, Starks only. Snow's up in north beyond the wall. He has a whole different world that we've never seen before. That's why Ghost is not like the rest of his woven brothers and sisters.
He gone.
Next is Sansa, the passive, helpless one. Didn't really do much.
Seriously.
Just kind of like a victim. And that's exactly what Lady was, a victim.
Yep.
Ned Stark had to kill her because Cersei's a total cunt. So then we move on to, I guess Brandon would be next.
Yeah, Brandon.
Yeah.
Who couldn't do much.
Yeah.
Crippled. So what did we see Shaggy Dog? Was it No, it was Summer. We saw Summer do, ironically, because he was a big fan of the winter, but he named his dog Summer. Summer just laid in bed beside him, just watching over him as everyone else does. And the irony, he watched over Bran as Bran becomes a warg and watches over everyone else.
Yep.
It's almost metaphorical. We have Arya, the rebel. I do what I want. I do what I please. I break the rules. That's how Nymeria was. Nymeria, I'm going to bite this prince. I don't care who he is.
Exactly.
And then when even Arya told her to run away, she's like, no, let's face these guys. Like, she had to hit you with a rock. Like, yo, get away from here. And then still the only wolf to survive. The one who you think is, that's dead. You ran away on your own. You can't survive by yourself. Started her own pack. Started her own, like, completely wrecking
Wolf
stuff
game.
alone. Even in the books and in the show. And then we have the one who should have zigzagged.
Yeah.
Shaggy Dog.
So, to kind of wrap it all up on my theory on it is I see, the purpose of the White Walkers is to bring peace to the land by any means necessary.
Seriously.
Black Panther. Night's King himself is procreating for a species because he is meant to do this. He has a purpose to bring peace by force. But the only way to end his peace is for people to pay attention to the lessons of history, which Rhaegar Targaryen was trying to do, which no one listened to because he was a big fan of the history, which is where I believe he was the one to have the cat's paw. Yeah. And it was passed on to Robert Baratheon, and Baratheon pretty much somehow whatever he did with it, it got passed on to Tyrion. Tyrion just had it because he was always asking for a dragon when he was growing up. The Lannisters provided him dragon glass dagger as the closest thing. That was taken from by Cersei so that she can hide her dirty work, which I'm probably sure that Joffrey was aware of, because that following morning when Tyrion's sleeping in the dog pen, Joffrey says to him, "Oh, you send what did he say? You send a what did he say? You don't send a lion to kill a pup or something." He makes a joke referencing dogs, pretty much, a sidebar kind of saying like, okay, I sent someone to kill Brandon. That's why there's a theory that Joffrey was the one who tried to kill Brandon and not Cersei. Right. But the only thing that doesn't make sense is because he has no motive for doing that. The only thing in the book that's why they give him motives, because the show is different from the book, so we can't use that. Yeah, but the only thing from the book that he says is the reason why he would do it is because he hears Robert Baratheon, because they pinch on that because Jaime says it, but it was that Joffrey heard it from Baratheon prior to, is that I would hate to be a cripple all my life. I mean, that pain you would go to, I would take a clean death any day. It's better just put him out of his misery. Right. Robert Baratheon says something like that in his books, whereas Jaime says in the show after the fact. So there's a theory of Joffrey with that. But moving along, so with dagger being passed to Tyrion to Peter Baelish, this dagger is somehow going to make its place and make its way to the Night's King, I fear. And this dagger itself isn't going to kill the Night's King, but rather, just like we saw with pretty much the sword that might have even been forged from the Lightbringer, is going to go into either Cersei or possibly Sansa, maybe even Arya, and make the new Night's Queen. Because this show is going to have a bittersweet ending regardless. We're not getting a happy ending. We're losing a character we love.
Yeah, regardless.
A few.
A few.
And then that'll be the ultimate stop where the Night's Queen will change. But think about who these queens would be. We have Arya and Daenerys, maybe Sansa. Sansa's the new Cersei. She's the Cersei of the North.
Yeah,
developing.
This Night's King's like, okay, you're a Night's Walker now, you're my queen, and she's gonna probably just straight shatter and kill him, and she's gonna run the North, and she's not gonna be like, they're like, oh, good, Sansa, you turned to a White Walker, now you're gonna protect all of them. She's gonna look back at them like, no, I'm the Night's Queen now. Just how Brand is, I'm the Three-Eyed Raven, I'm no longer this person. I see that they're gonna completely flip. Like, yeah, I may have killed the Night's King and stopped the whole war against you guys, but I know what he was after. You're idiots, and I'm going north. If I hear some news from y'all doing some dumb shit,
I'm coming back down. I'm your mother now.
Yeah, it's almost like a vicious cycle.
A vicious cycle, yeah. Where the Night's Walker are they're the police.
They're basically the wardens.
You guys want to mess stuff up? Okay. You want to mess up your own land? We're going to mess up even more than you, so you learn your lesson. You want to clean up your mess. And that's ultimately the ending that I see coming. Don't know who might be the Night's Queen, because I see this ending with a Night's Queen. I really do. The Night's Queen is going to probably replace the Night's King. The only strange thing is there's the whole Stark marriage thing. I don't know how much history is going to repeat itself, but if the Night's Queen or the White Walker that's going to rule the beyond the North, if you will, beyond the Wall, is also a Stark, they might not even need that union. Because we see the Night's King, he's been up there ruling for years, and he didn't have to come down until we started seeing, until there was a reason, He didn't come down until, here's a kicker, it wasn't the Mad King that he came down for. The Mad King was wrecking stuff, and he didn't come down for the Mad King. It was the rebellion. All right, we have something crazy and messing stuff up. We're going to unite to beat this ultimate evil. He was cool with that. He didn't do anything until Peter Baelish. Peter Baelish had, remember Liza Aaron from The Vale, the crazy aunt of Sansa? Remember her husband?
Yeah.
Peter Baelish helped poison him. The Hand of the King, the first Hand of the King for Robert Baratheon. That's why he went to get Ned Stark. That's when all the chaos happened. When he died, Robert Baratheon was going north. But we as viewers, we didn't see why Robert Baratheon was going north. We didn't even know he was moving yet. All we saw was the abandoner of the Night's Watch running south. And Ned Stark finds him and executes him. And his only and he told him about the White Walkers coming south.
Bruh. Mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's...
Yeah.
Pretty much how it.
Okay.
Because most people would kind of argue that Bran was the whole reason why everything started.
Oh, you just thought what I was gonna say.
Yeah, Bran is a lot of the reason why a lot of things started.
Stop bringing you around, bro. You're always finishing my sentences, bro. He did it, right? He messed with this guy's head.
Yeah.
The Mad King. He drove him mad, didn't he? When he went back in time.
It's all been it's all been Brandon who influenced the mentality of people, and it's always been Peter Baelish who's been influencing their actions.
Like directly.
So it's irony that when he handed him the dagger, he looked at him and he said, "Chaos is a ladder."
Boom,
And all this chaos is a ladder. Those two, and a little splash of Varys and Melisandre,
it has to be,
are the ones who have been setting everything in motion.
Yeah.
And the Night King is just responding. He's the ripples in the water. That's all he is. He's just the ripples in the water.
Yep. That's gonna be crazy.
The only problem with all this research and theorying I've been come up with, it leaves too much out. And that too much that I'm leaving out is Essos. Nothing ever happens in Essos, and that's the land of magic. Which is funny because White Walkers are strictly magic-based creatures.
Yep.
Children of the Forest are strictly magic-based creatures. Westeros has very little magic because the Children of the Forest are gone. But Essos has plenty of magic.
Nothing's being messed up over there.
We don't hear any White Walkers needing to go over there.
Nope.
They only care about Westeros.
Yep.
And their area is even more screwed up with the constant slavery. And it's vicious over there. And that's the one thing that leaves me questioning is like, okay, we had a Night King is dedicated to Westeros, bringing peace. That's why I see maybe Sansa might be a new Night's Queen. But I still feel somehow Daenerys is going to be involved because she conquered Essos and brought peace, or what little peace she could.
Right.
Somehow I feel that someone's got to go back and keep that uniting of Sansa, the Queen of Ice, and maybe Daenerys, Queen of Fire, on Essos and Westeros. Or maybe Jon might even go over there.
Seriously.
Or he'll stay King of North. But I feel that Essos is not done yet. The way the story's going, it seems like Essos is just thrown away. No, she made peace over there, whatever. She left a thief ruling in Marine. A guy who grew up as a thief and a mercenary as a king. So, like,
honestly, they might overgloss on it because it's a show. You know, with a book, you can actually go into all those details of what's going on.
They'll probably wrap it up.
They'll.
But that's the only, like, stomper that hits me. Is like, I don't know what Essos, if Essos even mattered anymore.
I don't think they're going back over there.
And then we have Jorah Mormont walking around now.
Yeah,
he got cured of his rock skin.
That's
so, like,
true. So what part is he gonna play in?
You know, because I mean, we know Lyanna Mormont, she's wrecking stuff. But if her uncle comes stepping up, like, oh, how about that?
How weird is it gonna be when he see Longclaw with Jon?
He won't care. We're at the point where, like, if people are holding other weapons, it doesn't matter anymore.
Reactions at that one point.
If he even recognizes it at this point. Because
he did leave it behind.
You know, we see, I mean, he cares for Khaleesi. So, like, the way she's honoring Jon Snow right now, he can do anything he wants. Especially this next episode, we're going to see Drogon actually meet face-to-face with Jon Snow for the first time.
Right.
The only other Targaryen that he hasn't met yet. Because there's still the theory that Tyrion's a Targaryen. You know, Tyrion, Jon Snow,
I really hope
the 3 Dragon Riders.
But what if he is? That would be like a twist. Because
it wouldn't be a twist. That's the problem.
Because it's been speculated for so long.
Yeah, really.
Not even that it's been put out there so much. Just the fact that it feels like a scapegoat for him.
Right.
Like, his story feels much more tragic knowing that he doesn't have some great destined future. Like, he's the imp that doesn't need, like, this big destiny written on a wall. Like, he has survived many hardships being in the situation he's in, like being short and little and all this other stuff. And it hasn't been because of destiny or fate. It's just him. He's just awesome like that. And I like to keep it that way.
Seriously.
Giving him some big, huge backstory and destiny, oh, no, that'll fuck him up big time, man.
Just keep him with I drink.
I'm down for that. I do like if he was just like a simple, subtle story. He just helped the big plan.
He doesn't need magic. He doesn't need this destiny type situation. Don't mess him up like that.
I mean, but look at what he's done.
Yeah.
And the irony about Targaryens, excluding Daenerys' brother, Verces, or whatever his name is, Tyrion's done things that he should have never been able to do. He's fought alongside the Hill tribes in an actual battle. He's also fought at the Blackwater. He's even helped the ambush where it was Catelyn Stark being protected and her guards got killed and Tyrion ended up protecting her.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, like, he may just be this imp, but he has accomplished things that the common characters couldn't even do.
Seriously.
And doesn't that inspire you?
Yes.
Seriously.
Now take it from the context of, all right, he didn't accomplish those things on his own. It was his blood, his destiny, all this other
then
jazz.
it does kind of
it takes it away from you. It's like, I'm not gonna look up to this guy. It was, the road had been laid for him.
I feel because this is stepping off topic, but it's kind of like Final Fantasy VII, where like Cloud is supposed to be this really cool guy. Who's just,
you find out
he's
not.
just from the slums, and you're like, oh, he's really not. He's a clone of Sephiroth.
Yeah.
So you were given free powers, like,
and he didn't make it because of Zack.
Yeah, exactly. You feel me? So like, I get where you're coming from.
He got piggyback rided the whole.
It's okay.
The other
Yeah,
way.
exactly.
But exactly, once you give him this big destiny and this huge fate, it takes away from him.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be that little guy that can accomplish and the little truck they could, the little train, right?
Yeah,
The little train they could. That's him.
Brave
man.
little toaster.
Yeah, the brave little toaster.
So, I gave my final thoughts pretty much on how I see this will possibly end.
Right.
You know, Sansa, Queen of the North, the far north. You know, Frozen Throne.
Seriously.
Where do you see this going, Swordmaster?
Oh my god. All right. Well, I can see this planning out one way. I can agree with you at one point where Sansa actually being useful and becoming the Night Queen finally. But I can see this really happening, like everybody dying at one point. Everybody who's your favorite character is going down before this war ends. Because everybody has their own agenda, right? You know, Jon's trying to do what his foster dad was doing, was trying to keep the peace in the north, keep peace with Westeros and everything. Then you have Mad Queen Cersei bombing everything. Then you got Daenerys like, I don't care what's going on with the north. I just want you to be on my side and bend the knee right now.
Bend the knee.
And then I'll make you king of the north. But after that, that's about it. But I feel like a lot of things are gonna go down that even the dragons aren't gonna help. But like I said, I can definitely agree with you with Sansa finally being a Night Queen, because that makes a lot more sense than what I was thinking about. Like, oh yeah, Daenerys is going to be the Night Queen.
I mean, a lot of people think it's Daenerys, but I like Sansa more.
Exactly.
I like Sansa a lot more.
Because the fact that she's like in this mode, like everyone's my
Look
at
her
enemy.
siblings; they're all broken. She's just a little more hardened, but like they've all been hardened, so it means nothing.
Yeah.
The only person who didn't develop was Rekon. He didn't zigzag. So
He had nothing.
He had nothing.
6 seasons just to die.
So
seriously,
Alfjord?
yeah.
I think I can agree with yours, mostly because, you know, the Night King, his whole thing is like there's been a breach of contract, so I'm just fulfilling my side of the oath. So I have to make these first men, or just men in general, keep up their half. So I'm just gonna play the field. I'm just gonna do everything that's necessary until things mold into that way. But who knows? There might be
A change.
Yeah, there might be a certain like fluctuation in the timeline or whatever, you know. But
Yeah, Brandon Stark.
Three-Eyed
Seriously, my
Raven,
man.
and things may go left. You know, you may get a totally different story. You know, it might not be a Night's Queen to end it, or, you know, another Night King.
Yeah.
You know, there may just be like it may just be like wherever, like where it started from. Like everyone wants to conquer the throne, everyone wants to get on the throne, and it gets back to that.
Yep.
But I don't think everything's gonna end by means of like sword. You know, it's gonna be purely magic thing.
Magic big fight.
You know, because the Night's King, he's too big of a character to just die that way, like you said about Arya.
Yeah.
I have a really bad feeling about that. You know, but the way it ends is, I don't know. I think the actual Night's King and Jon Snow, they're gonna have to go toe to toe. And I can definitely see Daenerys like being like just dying altogether.
Sacrifice.
Yeah, sacrificing. And then Jon has to take the wall as the new Night King, but not necessarily with the queen, you know? But the whole threat of whites just being like
Looming.
yeah, maybe even eliminated altogether, you know?
Depends on who takes the mantle of the king or queen. Who
feel
puts on that Lich King helmet.
Pretty much.
The helm of damnation. So, Gnarly Marv.
You've convinced me over the course of the podcast that to your theory, but where I always feel like there's some kind of buildup going on with Melisandre's theory about a king born of flames or something like that. She said, and where does that play into
Jon Snow?
But how so? If he ends up being the Ice King, or
he is ice
not
and
Adventure
fire,
Time,
but remember how this
yeah.
world works is you take on your father's legacy.
Yeah.
So he's born of fire, not snow.
I get that point. But if he ends up taking the place of,
that's why I see Daenerys being that sacrifice, because
Right.
he has to be the king of fire now.
Or what
He
if-
doesn't want to be king. People choose him.
What about Arya though? Arya could probably been queen. And
That's why I speculated that, but she's
Yeah.
kind of like one of the.
I don't think
Most
Arya
of
could
the-
do it either.
The reason why I say that is because she trained with the many-faced god. So I would
Many-faced God is whole on another level.
that's what I'm saying. You know,
when it comes to the Lord of Light and the many-faced God, they kind of they're friends. If they're not the same God, they're friends, and they somehow work with the old gods who are like the children of the forest worshipped, who the Starks actually worship, because some of the first men converted to that religion, and thus the Starks became.
That's why that tree's still there.
That's why, like, where it comes to Arya, because she is the perfect human embodiment of the first men when it comes to that aspect. She's well aware of magic. She follows one of the gods who the children of the forest would worship, and she also still pays homage to the tree in their backyard. So, and she's a Stark of Winterfell. So she's literally all those things together. I mean, I guess I'm giving her a lot of importance to the point where, like, I don't see her doing anything important.
Right.
Well, no, I always feel like her story should end just as her being a vagabond, like traveling the land and ninja life, a sell sword.
Because remember, like I said, all Starks represent their wolves and the wolves represent them. Look at what Nymeria did.
Yeah.
We're not seeing Nymeria again. I don't see her coming back.
Yeah, no, she's
that's why I see where Arya is just a soldier,
right?
And that's pretty much where she's gonna stop. It's like Lyanna Mormont. Lyanna Mormont's a badass little bear girl, but it's only so much she can do, you know?
Oh my god! You want to talk about whole game? What's gonna end in Game of Thrones? That little girl right there becomes Night Queen. Right?
The season would have been over if she had 3 dragons.
Exactly.
So where does Cersei play into all this? Also, like if we do all this stuff happens north, Cersei's not coming back north for the rest of the show.
No.
So what's happening with her?
When it comes with Cersei,
you think Jaime's gonna kill her?
Yeah,
I feel.
But for what reason?
Romantic.
It's gonna be that Romeo Juliet thing.
Like, he's gonna kill himself after he kills her.
Either that, or it's gonna be like, if we're going by prophecy, she's going to go down by Daenerys, and it's not going to be like a I killed you, blah 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 blah. It's going to be kind of like she got kind of caught in a crossfire at the hands of Daenerys. Because so far prophecies are falling into place now. And this is what Cersei. It's like the show That's So Raven. When she's going to the future, everything she tried to prevent something from.
I've always seen that from the beginning of Game of Thrones. I was like, this is just like That's So Raven, man.
Because Cersei always, she knew what her fate was, and she did everything in her power to try and prevent.
I was like, oh look, there's Corey. Remember Corey, little brother.
So I see Cersei is just going to cause her own death at the hands of Daenerys. But I don't see people just going towards Daenerys because Cersei's out of the picture, because we know how Westeros works. Oh yeah, we'll just side with the new king or queen, but like I don't see it going that easy. And if the directors of the show, I forget their names, but if they're as clever as I think they are, somehow Godfrey's gonna play a part. He's gonna finally stop rowing that boat.
He needs to do something, man. He needs to do something.
He's gonna show up, man. He's gonna show up as like having Blackfire in his hand.
Something, man. I mean,
because Melisandre sent him away, but for what?
For real.
She knows he's a Baratheon, but for like what? And then there's also the darkness in Arya's eyes that Melisandre saw that they never went back and explained.
Right.
Because Arya and Melisandre will meet again, but they've never met. Yeah. We know Melisandre left Dragonstone, but where the hell else is she going?
To die.
She's staying in Westeros. She's not going anywhere else, so she's going back north most likely. But to find the Brotherhood without banners, like, where is she going to go? Seriously. Jon's now in South, so she's free to go to
who else is a key player in the show at this moment? Who else has some, like, destined things happen to them? Besides what's going on in Castle Rock before the North, the Hound, yes, but isn't the Hound close to the North also?
Yeah, he's with the brother. So he's going to East.
That's what I'm saying. So he's going to be taking part in the battle with the White Walkers. Yeah. So if Melisandre's not at Castle Black, where would she be? Where would she be going? Where else is there key players at?
Does anybody know where the Fire Maiden goes?
No, my theory, she's probably going to Castle Rock. She's going to cross paths with Cersei or some shit.
Some way, somehow.
I see that because they're the only people who have not. I mean,
the lines are all connecting now, and yes, she should cross paths with Cersei.
That's the only person
point.
she hasn't even.
And that was because she was following Stannis, but with Stannis out the picture, no one knows. They just know, he was following some new religion because some woman. But Cersei doesn't know about that, really.
Exactly. Neither does Jaime, does he?
Exactly. No, he has.
Well, she might be the bird in Jaime's ear, like, towards killing Cersei. That might be that right there.
That's a role for her to play.
And she's awesome for that. She's
especially because we know she's pretty much traveling on foot. So by the time, we're thinking about where that battle took place in Highgarden. Yeah. Highgarden is north from Dragonstone. No, it's not. It's to the west of Dragonstone. Right. But I play Risk. To give those risks so I know where it's located. So if she went in that direction and she's on foot, by the time by Daenerys burning everything up, because I don't see Jaime, like you said, I don't see Jaime getting captured. I see him and Bronn traveling through the lands, making their way to King's Landing and they come across Melisandre just on the road.
Yeah, they go to King's Landing. Melisandre's there. She takes him down to the keep where she has the girls from Dawn kept up, and either one of them is dead. Oh, well, the daughter's dead, but like the mother's all bony and chewed up.
I don't even see them bringing them back.
Yeah,
you don't think so?
I think that was.
You think that's it for Dawn?
Yeah.
No, there's one more redemption there. There's one more.
No, man. I think that's it because she did poetic justice on him. Like, oh, you killed my
She did kill the daughter.
They were the worst add to the show. As much as I like Dorne, they were not worth putting.
Then they were just filler. Then they weren't.
They all filler. They literally never did anything useful.
They talked to
Oberyn Martell was the only thing that was good from Dorne, and he was one of the best characters ever delivered, and they erased him in the season.
Yeah.
YOLO. You only live one season. So.
Hey. That's true. He only did live one season.
It's true, man.
Yeah.
So Dawn's done. If they revisit them, they're just finishing up. Oh, what happened to them?
Well, no, that's motivation for Jaime to go kill Cersei because it's like look at this look at your dungeon. Go check who's down there. Yeah. He goes down there. He sees 2 women starving to death, haven't been fed or washed.
One of them's probably already dead by now.
Depending on her immunity to the poison that she herself.
Either way, same effect. He goes down there and sees that. He's like, oh wow, my sister's crazy. I gotta go up there.
It's also the meeting he had with the queen.
With the queen, and it builds up. It builds up the pressure, and so it's like, all right.
It just let him realize what he's become because of his love for Cersei.
Yeah,
exactly.
As Olenna says, she's a poison for you.
There you go.
She's like she's gonna be the death of you if you haven't seen that.
But that would be an awesome outcome for me.
Yeah.
So.
What
is your actual wrap up now? So we can wrap this up as a whole. You never actually said how you see it ending.
Yeah, seriously.
How I see it ending. Honestly, you kind of confused my thought process behind it, because I see this season being the end of the White Walker story. I thought that after this season, this is where the battle goes. The King's Landing.
I just felt like this is the beginning.
I see this is when they say who cares about. This is the season that says King's Landing never mattered.
Or you see the wall.
Because we knew King's Landing never mattered since season 2. Mm-hmm. And this is the season that finally puts it in, drills in your head. None of this that happened in prison ever mattered because Night's King.
Nope.
Well, that's if they go into the backstory of the White Walkers the way you guys described it. Yeah. Because at this point, an average viewer who hasn't read the book, hasn't gone into the details and none of that jazz, is thinking of the White Walkers as, they're just zombies. There's one sentient, one that's the king. Because
true,
they haven't gotten into none of that. Besides the fact that they force kids.
The only thing that I use that was from the books is that we need a Night's Queen.
Yeah.
As the Night's King being retribution is that we know for a fact that they were created as well. Because let's say that the scene when they show the children making a Night Walker, White Walker, we because of books we know that's not the Night's King.
Yeah.
But as a show watcher, you would think that he's the Night's King. He was made to be a weapon against the humans.
Because it looks like it's the first one that they made. That they made at that time.
So if you take it from that aspect, he was made to be a weapon to fight the human. Okay. Children of the Forest are dead.
Yeah, they're all dead since.
He's just fulfilling his purpose. At the end of the day, he's still fulfilling his purpose as what he was created. Now we also know he's a passive tyrant because remember when Bran did his present vision, it wasn't even a future or past vision. He just was visioning of an area that's currently happening. Yeah. And we saw the League of Whites, the White Walkers, and the Night's King kind of chilling. They weren't meditating or sleeping. They were just sitting there staring in a direction.
Well, I figured that meant that they didn't sleep. They were just standing there.
And Bran's just looking at them, and then he walks by all the White Walkers, and the Night's King just touches them. He's like, I'm with you on this. I know exactly what's happening. Boy. I was waiting for you to come here because I'm also a 3-eyed raven.
Exactly.
I needed you. You talked to the old man, and the old man was afraid of me because he knew what I was going to bring. And he was trying to do things peacefully and passively. He wasn't. It's like you have Magneto versus Xavier. You have the Night's King is Magneto. The old man 3-eyed raven was ironically Xavier. He was crippled. He couldn't walk either, just like Brandon.
All right, but here's where the problem lies in that theory. You have the whole Cersei situation sort of closing in on itself without her involvement. And she's never going to be involved with anything that's going on with the White Walkers, neither is Jaime. So then there you go. You have 2 stories that are closing in on themselves without the involvement of everyone else. And I feel like that's not the right way to end it. I feel like it should all come together. But it show
that they're forcing close because the books are still going pretty heavy.
I hear you. That's the good way to end it, but I feel like it wouldn't be as simple as that.
Endings?
Yeah, because then that kind of like, all right, we don't got to worry about Cersei. She's going to end up doing it to herself.
But then almost as a contradiction what you just said about Tyrion. Because he has no great destiny nor no great finish.
No, of course not. But despite...
Because the Lannisters from the beginning of the show have always been great, powerful tyrants. And for once, we see them in a season where they really don't matter.
And that's what would suck.
And that goes back to their very theme song, Lords of Castamere.
Right.
Who are you, the proud lord said, that I must bow so low. You're only a cat of different coat. That's only truth I know. A coat of red, a coat of gold. A lion still has claws, and my claws are long and sharp, my lord, as long and sharp as yours.
Jeez.
They are just normal people.
Yeah. But you think this,
so? So yeah, it'll probably be the end of the season then. Yeah.
You think that, like, the end of the season will just come down with the wall coming down, and like the Night King just shows up, takes one of Daenerys' dragon. And
Yeah, it's gonna end on the biggest cliffhanger yet so far. So
like, oh, you thought I can't control your dragon?
Yeah. It's gonna be he's gonna turn one of them into an ice dragon. He's gonna take somebody hostage. Somebody's gonna die. You know what I mean? Yeah. It has to be the biggest so far.
Just let it be sound.
Biggest, but I'm telling you, it sucks. And if Cersei's whole situation is gonna resolve itself within the castle walls, the next
couple episodes,
then like, it kind of feels cheap to me for some reason.
Yeah, but I mean, sometimes I said it's gonna be a bittersweet.
I mean, it can't be. I know it can't be a perfect thing because nothing's perfect, but.
I mean, we got an episode to watch because we're about that point.
Yeah, let's get that done.
So let's wrap this all up. We got our theories. We spoke our piece, so we'll be signing off. All right. So
definitely.
Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm here with Gnarly Marv.
Oh, villain, my villain.
Oh, villain, my villain. Bend the knee.
Bend the knee.
Lord Jamar, a.k.a. Alfjord, my brother Wolf over there. And then we got Montecore, Migs Drogo over here.
King of the North.
And then you have me, Aesop the Alchemist, guys. And thanks for tuning in to Darkened Hour. And as the sun sets on this mortal realm, as usual, guys, hit that like button, share this video around, leave a comment on what you'd like to hear us talk about in our next Darkened Hour video, and we'll get back to you guys later. Cheers.
Cheers.